As we honor this very special day of Dr. Martin Luther King's celebration, we honor his goals, his hopes, and his dreams. I'm very honored to be a part of an institution that is willing to have these difficult conversations of race and what it is like to be Black in America today. I was blessed to be the very first speaker in the EPC Affect Positive Change Lifting Black Voices speaker series. With this speaker series, we are going to touch upon a lot of different uncomfortable conversations of what it is like being Black in America, what it is like to be on the racial divide, what it is like to be discriminated against, and the constructs of what America is today. Not what we hope it is, but what it actually is today. In the first installment of the speaker series, I give my own account of what it is like to be a Black male in today's society. There's a song that is played at the beginning of the speaker series, This Is Me. This song embodies what the EPC and the Lifting Black Voices speaker series is all about. Hide away, they say, because we don't want your broken parts. I've learned to be ashamed of my scars. Run away, they say. No one will love you as you are. And part of this speaker series, we're trying to be able to empower different individuals to be able to have a voice. And throughout this song, the second portion of it is, and the aspect that we're trying to be able to give individuals a opportunity to be able to dialogue about their experiences. And so our mission as EPC is to be brave. I am bruised. I am who I am meant to be. This is me. Look out, because here I come. I'm marching on the beat I drum. I'm not scared to be seen. I make no apologies. This is me. And so throughout this speaker series, we're trying to be able to get an authentic look at about what it is to be Black in America, what it is to be able to lift other people's voices and to be heard in a collegiate environment, and an opportunity for those to be able to listen, sit back, and walk a mile in somebody else's shoes. I'm very grateful to be a part of an institution that is willing to be able to have this opportunity here on campus.
Literally in Ohio, getting ready for this speech, can take it in any direction, and that song hit me really, really hard. And the dichotomy that hit me was the two ends of the spectrum. When that woman with such elegance and grace, and she talks about, hide away, they say, because we don't want your broken parts. I've learned to be ashamed of all my scars. Run away, they say. No one will love you as you are. And so when that hit me the first time, I'm like, wow, that's really, really impactful. And then for me to be able to get up here in front of 160 people to be able to be vulnerable, but yet also then be able to give you the full scope of where this goes. And then the last part of it, I haven't heard that song once and not teared up a little bit, so excuse me. I am brave, I am bruised, I am who I'm meant to be, this is me. Look out, because here I come, I'm marching at the beat I drum. Very impactful for me, 39 years old, just hit it, finally-ish. I'm not scared to be seen, I make no apologies, this is me. And then so as we go through this speaker series, and we go from progression to progression to progression, and we hear different people's voices, we want to be able to get to both ends of that spectrum so that this entire college gets an opportunity to see the scars, the bruises, the bumps, but then also gets to see the progression in which you cross that line and get to that opportunity to march at your own drum. And so I'm really, really excited to be able to start this speaker series off on a very positive note.
Ooh, it's been a minute since I've seen this many people in here. Well, for y'all who don't know me, I'm Kiana Spivey. I'm currently a senior here at Belmont Abbey, majoring in sports management, and I'm from Rocky Mount, North Carolina. My dad and my mom are kind of split, so I live with my mom in Rocky Mount, but my dad lives in Pennsylvania currently.
Hi, my name is Brittany Autry. I'm a senior here. My major is sports management. I'm from Monroe, North Carolina, and I stay with my mother, my father, and my two brothers.
All right, Coach Will, don't be shy now.
My name is Jason Williams. I've been working here at the Belmont Abbey College now for a long time, since Maria Coleman was this little. 16, 17 years now, and this is the place I call home. And very, very proud to be able to start this speaker series off and with everybody here in general.
Where you from?
Originally from Santa Barbara, California. Moved out here to go to Greensboro College many, many moons ago, and have been out here ever since. When I first got here to the South in general, I was always kind of thinking that I was going to move back home, and the Southern hospitality got me. You know, the fried food and the sweet tea and all the comfortable food that puts 15 pounds during COVID is the reason why I stay.
Can you tell us a little bit about the fam?
My brother lives about 3 blocks away. My mother lives in Stanley. And my father still currently lives in Santa Barbara, California. And I'm trying to get him to eventually move out this direction and kind of go from there. So hopefully one day we'll have the entire family reunited and can go from there. Cool. All right, so this next segment, we're gonna break down this room. We're gonna get an opportunity. So I want you guys to just look to your left and to your right now, right? And I want you guys to really look at similarities and differences to people to your left and to your right. Because this whole ordeal is going to be interactive, and so I'm going to ask you guys' participation throughout this. You're not going to just look at me for the next hour and go from there. Thank you, Abbott. We're going to dissect, look at, and connect all of those, the similarities and the differences that you see to your person to your left and to your right. The conversation that we're about to have is going to be difficult, interactive, and introspective. And so we're going to cover some stuff, especially about my life, that as I'm going through this, I really didn't think I was going to tell 180 people and put it on camera, et cetera. But then we're going to be interactive amongst one another, and then at the end of the day, I want to be introspective, so that at the end of the day, this is going to go down deep into who you are as an individual. So when you walk out of here, it's not just my story that you heard, it's an outlook on what your life out there in the world is going to be. So we're going to clarify a couple different terms, some very difficult terms, right out the gate. We're going to start this bad boy off with some interesting conversations and just get into breaking down this room. Black individuals, white individuals, monastic community, presidents, athletic directors, females, males, family members, husbands, wives, daughters, brothers, sisters. The difference is huge throughout this entire room. And we're going to get into a lot of different difficult conversations, topics, and definitions. And so for the next hour-ish, we're going to utilize these definitions that we set. And so as I am having a conversation with you, we know which way we're defining these terms.
Okay, this first term that we're going to talk about is white guilt. So white guilt is being in that position of like, I didn't shoot any black people, or I'm not racist, or I don't see color, I didn't lynch anyone. But then that guilt part comes in when, you know, I love everyone, but don't know what to do with that position of power that I have. So those feelings of shame and remorse that some white people experience when they recognize like all of the like racism that has happened over the years or that's currently happening and everything and the injustices, and perceive the ways that they have benefited from it.
The next term is black anger. I am mad, hurt, sad, depressed. There is so much going on in the world against me. My emotions are all along the spectrum because of the way I'm being treated, because of the color of my skin.
So words matter and how they come across and the definition in which we use them. They have a significant impact. Here are some key terms that we are going to utilize, and I want to clarify our definition of them.
Racism. Racism is any prejudice against someone because of the color of their skin.
I got you. And then so the definition that we want to be able to utilize, we're not going to utilize that first definition. Brittany, give me that one more time.
Racism is any prejudice against someone because of the color of the skin.
All right, the definition that we're going to utilize today and kind of be able to dissect here a little bit as we move forward is racism is any prejudice against someone when those views are reinforced by a system of powers. And so for the next 45 minutes, just play along with me here a little bit because we're going to play along the words of system of powers. We're going to play along the words of prejudice against someone when those views are. And so those play of words, we're going to kind of go back and forth here a little bit today. And the reason why, to me when I was starting to read this and listen to TED Talks and try to figure out how to get here is because we want to be able to fight the cause, not the symptom. And so if I'm diagnosed with cancer and then I end up having vomiting, loss of hair, it's already happened, and then weight loss, have those symptoms, right? And I want to be able to cure those symptoms consistently. I'm taking Tums, trying to eat cheeseburgers, I go get Rogaine, right? Those are treating those symptoms, not necessarily the cause. And so when I finally go to chemo, that's going to take care of the cause of that cancer so that the symptoms no longer exist. And then so Keyanna, give me that definition one more time.
So the definition we want to use is racism is any prejudice against someone when those views are reinforced by systems of powers.
Next one. You got white supremacy.
Now the next definition we're going to use is white supremacy. This is the belief that white people are superior to those of all other races, especially the black race. And this is kind of like a system of structural advantages. So this favors white people socially, politically, and economically.
You have the last part.
And then Brian Stevenson calls this the narrative of racial differences.
And I want everybody to take it easy. This is going to be uncomfortable as we dialogue about this, right? And so as we go about breaking down the room, it's the white guilt and black anger. There comes a time where we need to be able to meet in the middle to be able to figure out what each other's sides look like. And so I want to be able to, that's the reason why the definition of terms are very, very important first and foremost. And then so the narrative of racial differences. And so the narrative of racial differences is what this country has been able to, lack of better words here, justify slavery, Jim Crow, segregation, mass incarceration for years. The narrative of racial differences, right? Young lady by the name of Rudy Bridges. She is 67 years old today, right? So 61 years ago, this young child walks into a segregated classroom for the very first time. There are individuals in this room who have lived through that, who have seen that actually happen. And reading about Rudy, the interesting part, she's from New Orleans, she thought it was the Mardi Gras when she actually was walking to class for the first time to be with her teammates. There were so many people around her at that point in time that were throwing things, yelling things, and that same excitement, they thought it was the Mardi Gras, or she thought it was the Mardi Gras. The narrative of racial differences. I'm going to get into two different names, Kyle Rittenhouse and Jacob Blake. Jacob Blake gets shot 7 times, reaching into a car. Could have been a gun, could not have. Kyle Rittenhouse. If you watch the video, it is shocking. The young man shoots 2 people, walks down the street, walks past 5 police cars, has people on the side of the road yelling, "That man shot somebody. That man shot somebody." Cop car 1 goes by, cop car 2 goes by, 3, 4, and 5. Puts his hand up, rifle strapped around his waist, right? And then gets an opportunity to go home that evening. And so the uncomfortableness that we're going to talk about is the narrative between the two. Why the black man reaching for God knows what gets shot. And the individual with the rifle around his waist gets an opportunity to go home.
The next definition is microaggression. Microaggressions are constant reminders that you do not belong, that you are less than. A statement or action or incident regarded as an instance of indirect, subtle, or unintentional discrimination against members of a marginalized group, such as a racial or ethnic minority.
Britt, give me that one more again. Come on now. She's new on the microphone here a little bit, and we're working on her confidence. Go ahead, Britt.
Microaggressions are constant reminders that you do not belong, that you are less than. A statement, action, or incident regarded as an instance or indirect, subtle, or intentional discrimination against members of members of a marginalized group, such as racial or ethnic minority.
Atta girl. Killed it. Now, we're going to get into the storytelling portion of me in general. Now we've talked about some instances. And so, can I get 1, 2, 3? Come here. Yeah. And 4 and 5. Come here. Yep. Yeah, you, Joe Snow. Please be 6 feet apart. And so we're going to talk about microaggressions. And I want to break down microaggressions in a punch in the arm. And then so what a microaggression is, as I'm walking by, oh, good old Joe Snow, right? As I'm walking by Joe Snow, I get punched in the arm, right? And so that punch in the arm is shocking. Something I've never seen before, doesn't happen ever, and I am floored by that, right? It's very soft, but thank you, Joe, right? And so at the end of the day, like, there starts to be something there formed, right? That's one microaggression. It's a statement. She calls me something. The next microaggression I'm coming by, could be 2, 3, 4, 5 months later, I get punched in the arm. I knew I was gonna do it. So you gotta love that one right there. So she never plays, you know why. Kidding, right? So that one, oh boy, she cocks back and hits me, right? So now that one really leaves the bruise, right? That one's gonna leave a legit bruise. I see you, Kelly, right? And so that's another microaggression that happens in my life. Unbeknownst to me, walking by happens, bang, right? That same spot, same position, same bruise, starting to get black and blue a little bit, starting to feel like a little bit, And so at least now when I look back, I have some past experiences to be able to live by, learn by, figure out. As I continue to walk through life, right, the next microaggression hits, right? Ooh. So now it's starting to callous a little bit. It's starting to kind of just get like my hands are just really, really hard and rough, right? And this next microaggression, what are you doing, right? I see what's happened previously, the last 3 times. And so now, instead of being able to just get hit, I want to be able to respond, right? And that response turns into, I think, 3 different ways in my life. And now when I was looking back on it, it came to either running very, very fast. It came to, make sure I get this right, fighting. And then the last one came to education. And then so as I get into the last microaggression, she went to church this morning. Girl, thank you. Right, I get hit, right? So now this other microaggression, I can respond in a different way, right? So instead of like the fight that I wanted to have here and the run that I had here and these next 3, this last one right here was education, because that bruise had completely calloused over. And so when we look at microaggressions, I want us to be able to look at that in that path. Thank you, ladies.
So, Coach Will, how has microaggression shaped your daily life?
We're arguing with some people on how to be able to say this. Microaggressions for me, I'm blessed to have a mother that has a very diverse palate. And so what I mean by that is she's a stout Catholic, goes to church every single day. She gave me an opportunity to be able to, when I was really, really little, I watched Lion King in terms of the play, Phantom of the Opera, all of the arts, right? She was she had vast dreams of me being like a ballerina at one point in time, me fitting in like a tutu, like that wasn't fitting in anybody's imagination, but she wanted it, right? And so she let me to read lots and lots of books. I ended up playing chess, and so my love of different aspects really gave me a really, really wide palette that doesn't really fit into the stereotype that is seen on a regular basis. My father was a very strict young man, and basketball was our love together. And then so growing up, like as a little kid, everybody had opportunities to be able to pick on me because I had different palettes than everybody else. I was the one black kid in there before class playing chess. I thought I was pretty good. Maria's been beating me so far. I played volleyball on a regular basis. And so as a little kid, you don't really have cognitive dissonance, and so you don't really know the difference between right and wrong. But then as you grow up and as you get into high school, you have opportunities to be able to differentiate what it looks like. And so what I mean by that is you have the difference to know between what's right and what's wrong. And then so at that point in time, I kept hearing those small microaggressions that were occurring over and over again. Oh, black people don't do that. Oh, you play chess? What? That's crazy. Wow, what? Huh. Oh, you like to read? Huh. Man. But let me back up though. When I was 10 years old was my very first experience with race in general. I was a kid, right, Williams Brothers back in California was the grocery store that we would go to. And then so my mother sent me to go get God knows what. And then so I'm getting whatever my mother needed. I'm riding my bike back, and as I'm on my bike, this car pulls up right behind me, right side of me. Right? I got my mother's groceries on each handlebar, got my headphones and my little Discman, and so I'm jamming. Right? 10-year-old. Thought I was cool. Car pulls up, 4 or 5 white individuals hop out. I'm like, hello. N-word this, we're gonna hang you on a tree, I wanna kill you, all come out of their mouth as they're trying to then come and approach me. And then so my first experience with race was run. And so just think 10-year-old Jason Williams, nappy hair, big smile, hopping over just fence after fence after fence after fence, literally to get home. I was not gonna go on the street. I knew my way home. I was a mischievous child. And then so literally hopping over fence after fence after fence, because I've been there before, to get home. Running. My first experience. And then so I get into high school and I hear all these other like stereotypes, microaggressions that happen on a regular basis, and I get into just run mode. So microaggression, run. Microaggression, run. Microaggression, I'm still running. Microaggression, I'm gonna keep running. It doesn't get till Greensboro College where I get a little bit of confidence in myself and who I am as an individual, because I see black individuals that look like me and who are successful and like things that I do. And so I can play chess with another black individual. I can read another book that's intellectually stimulating with another individual. Like that confidence started to like beam in myself. To be proud and be black was something that I had not experienced up until that point. And then so as I'm kind of walking through this microaggression portion, I'm playing volleyball in somebody's backyard. Right, and I want you to remember the microaggression timetable we had. Right, Kelly hit me hard, so it left a bruise, and the next individual I wanted to be able to fight. And so I'm playing volleyball, championship game, I'm actually pretty decent. I'm no Nolan, but I'm actually okay. And then so it's pretty competitive. It's an actual friend on the other side of the volleyball court. And then I hear the N-word come out of his mouth. And so I want you to be able to put back what has happened before and the lack of confidence that I had and the 10-year-old that constantly ran. Now Jason Williams has some confidence in him, and then so now the reaction that happens now is I'm going to tear this man's head off. Head off. And everybody who knows me, I'm a very, very laid-back individual, and it takes a lot. I deal with Brittany every day. And so I want to tear this man's head off. And so luckily, my best friend Joe Keller, my ride or die, is with me at that time. And they can see me go from 0 to 100 really quickly. And I'm literally coming through the volleyball net, foam out my mouth, just reacting. I have no idea what's about to happen when I reach him, but I know something bad. 225 is coming right at this little skinny white kid, and I'm going to just, God knows what. Luckily, I have really good friends, so at the end of the day, nothing really happened or transpired at that moment. Thank God. Or I'd be in jail or worse. And then so, as we move on to then consistent microaggressions, I get the job here at Belmont Abbey College, and we kind of go from there. And then so now I want to get into the next portion of it. It's not just fight, right? It's education. And so Martin Luther King's birthday this year, right? I keep hearing this word, fit. Fit, right? And it's a great word, means a whole lot because I recruit for fit. But at this moment in time, I had some stuff on my chest, and as you look back, you see the microaggressions that happened beforehand, and it's not that person's fault that's actually in my way at that time. But you can see the buildup beforehand. It's the boiling pot that constantly keeps simmering and simmering and simmering with no release. And so think of oppression in that way. It simmers and simmers and simmers until you see some type of change, then guess what? It's going to keep simmering. And then when it boils over, the reaction is going to be one of three ways. Run, fight, educate. And so at that point in time, Jason Williams sits always in the back, staff meetings consistently. I swear I'm listening, Coach Miss. All right. And then so we're getting into this conversation. And I keep hearing the same words over and over and over again. And then I look around the room and I'm like, I'm the only one. And so when they keep talking about fit, is it not me that fits? How does this work? I don't understand. I'm lost. And then so it's just ticking inside of me. My heart's beating really, really fast. And I remember this like it was yesterday. It was the day after Martin Luther King's birthday. And I raised my hand. I never say anything in staff meetings. The sooner they're over, the better life is. But at this point in time, I raised my hand. Hey, Coach Smith, somebody calling me. Right? I have these articulate words in my head. All of a sudden, I want to get them out. Guess what? I'm stuck in the middle. And so that bruise isn't necessarily calloused over yet. It's still a little bit of bruise, and it's still a little bit of black and blue. And so when I try to be educational, I get into that rage portion of it, and it comes out as just blah, word vomit. Nobody probably got anything from it, and Lord have mercy. And then so then, all right, so microaggression-ish, and then the next one happens. I get an opportunity to talk to the president of the Abbott. And this one, boy, I'm ready. I got note cards. I got everything written down. I go by the basilica. I write down what's on the stone. I am ready. Thank God it was on Zoom because they could not see what was happening. The Twitter, the twitching, and the because I'm nervous as all get out. And for me, I have never really looked at this response in this way before. And I get into, oh man, make sure they understand. Let's educate at this point in time. And then so I'm going to leave you with this for this segment. When we look back, violence is always wrong, period, point blank, or simple. But let's ask the reason why. And so when we see protests, that punch in the arm at that point in time is that person's callous. It's bruised over. They've been through experiences. They've been through the running portion of it at that 10-year-old child. They've been through that fight and didn't get locked up. They've been through other situations. So when they get punched in the arm now, guess what? I have the articulation to be able to stand in front of 180 people and then say my piece and what it means. Sometimes it turns into violence. You want to just beat people up and break bridges and all that good stuff. But at the end of the day, we're trying to fight the cause, not the symptom. So when you look back at it and find what the cause of that violence to be able to get to that point. Not the vomit, not the loss of weight, not the hair loss, but look deeper. And so you get into the see Oh, it's cancer. They need chemo. Because if we keep looking at it as just as, they're violent. Well, that's that person's perspective in the moment of that microaggression. Because I promise you, if you look back, that buildup is immense. Because that oppression happens. And there's no pressure release. There's no safety valve. Because there hasn't been a change that has happened. It constantly keeps happening, day after day after day.
And just thinking about your analogy of the run, fight, and educate, I kind of just think of it like when you said earlier, you can't be too quick to judge. I mean, the way things look, you can't really say, pinpoint, like as soon as you see it, like why people are doing or why this is happening. So now I think it's interesting how when you talked about your story about, when you was a kid having to run away from, those guys and everything, and how long, that you went through your whole, running process. So it's not like, oh, it just happened right now and then the next day or next week, but this is years and years. And now, you're in a position you're educating, we're putting on this whole big thing here and really expressing that and getting that out there. And I just think that's crazy how over such a period of time that could happen,
Thank you, Kiana Spivey. Very well said. We're going to get into the actual portion of it where you participate now. Heard a little bit about me, and I'll continue to get into some more analogies and kind of break some stuff down and go from there. So now I want you guys looking at that envelope, please. So everybody should have a pen and should have a dollar bill. If you don't have a pen, just raise your hand, or they're all over the place in general. And if we can get a couple in the back, that'd be fantastic. Please be socially distant and wear your mask. Down here, Alec, up there. All righty. And he'll get you one. So now everybody has a dollar, everybody has a pen. So now that dollar's not yours. So it is yours, but it's not yours to spend, I should say. All right, this is like a momentous keep from Jason Williams' pocket. It's funny, I went to Wells Fargo and I got $200 in ones. They looked at me like I was crazy. But it was for a good use, I promise. And so that dollar bill is for yours, right? We're gonna write down our privilege on the dollar bill that doesn't have the pyramid on it. So there's one side of it that has the pyramid, and I want us to write down our privilege on the dollar bill. This is gonna be for your keepsake, so that you can then have and put somewhere for hopefully the rest of your life as a reminder of not just this event, but where your privilege goes. And so when we talk about privilege, before we start writing them down, let me give you the definition of terms and how we want to be able to get into it. And then so before we get into it, right, privilege seems like a very scary word. Even for me, the more and more I think about it, if I do A, then I'm supposed to be able to get B. Those who got B did A. And so if you work really, really hard, I'm supposed to be successful. I get in the gym, I work out, go to CrossFit, I'm supposed to be skinny. It's not happening. right? And so there's different correlations from A to B that we're supposed to be able to get. But the portion of privilege is, the kicker, privilege has to come with somebody else's oppression. I'll say that again. Your privilege has to come by with somebody else's oppression. And then so my ladies are going to give you some examples.
Right. If it's, if you're having like a little trouble, just some things, have you always had good mental health?
Did you grow up in middle class?
Are you white?
Are you male?
Are you non-disabled?
Are you a documented citizen of the country you live in?
Did you grow up in a stable home environment?
Do you have a stable household?
Do you have reliable transportation?
Okay, now take time and really dig deep through all the advantages that you have, because there's some people out there that don't have those same advantages that you do.
And when doing this, you may have, the urge to write down your disadvantages. So resist that urge and really think about the privileges that you have.
You can be privileged in some areas of life and unprivileged in others.
Take your time. Write down some of your privileges, please. See how this one comes out. All right. So this is the interactive portion of it. I want to hear some people's privileges. And so I want to get some people's opinions here a little bit and hear what their privileges are before we kind of get into some other situations and explanations and kind of go from there. I'm going to start with Kelly Thomas. Come on, girl. That's for hitting me. Give me a privilege, just a privilege. Yeah, you can stay right there. Say it loud.
I am a U.S. citizen.
Thank you very much, Kelly. You don't have to stand up, but give me somebody else's privilege. Private school education. Thank you, Tom. Good to see you. Glad you got a babysitter. Brother Manny, we miss you so much, Brother Manny. Easy access to Christ, yes, that is for sure. Thank God for this place, Belmont Abbey College. Yes, ma'am. You can make your own decisions. That is very true. Good to see you. Good to see you. What else we got? Coach. Family. What you got right up here in the front row? Blue, yeah, you. Successful parents that went through college. What else we got? Coach Tony, we'll pick on you. Education, where'd you go to school? Oh, up north, huh? That cold weather. Have always had food on the table. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Growing up in a middle-class family, that is a very, very privileged opportunity. Give me like two more. Tyler.
Never had to help my parents with bills.
Okay, give me that one more time, please.
I said I never had to help my parents with bills.
Never had to help your parents with bills. Whew. Washing cars for $4.25. Stable home environment. Your mother is amazing. All right, so now we got the privileges, and it's, for me, I did this with my team a while ago, and I kept calling them my guinea pigs. And it was really, really impactful to be able to write down your privilege, because at the end of the day, when you walk out and write down your privileges, you feel blessed. Like there's a part of it when you write down your privileges, you really see where God has really put you in position to make a difference. And so when we did it with my team, it was amazing to be able to see that aspect of it. And so we're going to take that in a couple different ways. The goal is to identify where our privilege intersects with somebody else's oppression. That's where we'll find the opportunity to make real change. And I'm going to say that again real quick. The goal is to identify where our privilege intersects with somebody else's oppression. That's when we'll find the opportunity to make real change. I'm going to try my best not to be able to mix and match words here a little bit and kind of stay to bullet points. So for me, per se, I'm a black, male, Catholic women's basketball coach. And for me, all those are privileges. There is 51 million Catholics in the United States. This is of 2014. Did a little bit of research-ish. In 2019, it's the only one I could find, there were 3 million African Americans that identified as Catholic. Right, so you can fact check me a little bit. I may be a little bit off here or there, so just bear with me, please. But so for me, that I'm privileged to be able to grow up in California to where the majority of people are baptized Catholic. The Spaniards at the time have a lot of missions and did a good job over there. And so I became Catholic because that's what everybody does. But that's a privilege of mine that unbeknownst to my birth, that just happened. I'm a women's basketball head coach. There's not a lot of black males coaching women's basketball that are head coaches. That's a privilege of mine. And so as we get into this concept here, right, when I first got the job and the call from Coach Miss, the women's basketball program at Jacksonville State went 1-27, and we were terrible. And I got the phone call, and then all of a sudden I'm like, come and be the head coach here at Belmont Abbey College. Yes, Lord, I'm on my way. Right, and so for me, I had the epiphany, A to B. Guess what? I work really hard, I get this. I was the JV head basketball coach. So I'm gonna come on over here real quick. And so this is step one, and we're gonna go A to B. And so I was the JV basketball coach at one point in time, right, making $4,000. I was in there with Coach Miss, Chris Anderson, in a small little cubicle, and just trying to be able to figure out what JV basketball looks like. And so that was step one, and I thought A to B was here to there. And then so if I did JV basketball, bang, I got up to this point, and then I did recruit a lot of kids. So we recruited Jonathan Jackson, he's on the board, right? Played JV basketball, then got there, resume bullet point. I figured the next portion of it for my life would be go ahead and get a master's, get educated. Because in order to be able to hire the significant individual, you need to be able to have your master's degree. I got that one, right? So A to B, right? And so then the next point of is just stick with it long enough so that at the end of the day, you keep working hard, you'll get to your point. So then, all right, men's basketball is more about names. I'm gonna switch to women's basketball, right? So at that point in time, women's basketball, you can work hard and get to your dream and goal. All right, cool. We were terrible, 1-27, whew. But still, guess what? I reached my pinnacle, I got to my point, and I was the head basketball coach at Belmont Abbey College, A to B. And I thought I had made it by A to B, hard work and hard work only, right? Come back up your steps again here in a little bit, try not to fall. And so I get to A to B, and I get the job here at Belmont Abbey College, and I'm excited because it's my hard work that did it, and I put myself in position to be able to get there. I'm at the airport, probably either going recruiting or going somewhere. And then so I'm scrolling through my phone. I get into my junk email, and there's the name Humpy Wheeler. Like, name sounds familiar. Wheeler Center, Humpy Wheeler. And I thought the guy bought the building. That was my first recollection of Humpy Wheeler. I had no idea who he was. So the email is really long and lengthy, right? Congratulations, Jason. You're the first black women's basketball coach in Belmont Abbey history. And it goes along the lines to give me some historic facts and this, that, and the third, and how proud of me he is, and goes on and on and on and on. And I'm like, that's great. You know, so I'm having a correlation of Humpy Wheeler and Frank Lowry. Frank Lowry, that's my guy. I could call him up any day of the week and go to lunch with him and hang out, you know? And so I think Humpy Wheeler's along the same, they're both great people, great, you know, whatever. And then so I get that email, take it out of my junk email, I put it into my actual, biscuits. I put it into my actual inbox, and I come back. So I come back probably 5-6 days later, and I still have this. It's actually in my office right now. This little Post-it. It has Humpy Wheeler's signature on it. Call me. So at this point in time, I'm like, all right, I got to do a little bit of research on this Humpy Wheeler guy a little bit, because he's got his head in the lion's mouth, and he's got a pretty cool picture, and I'm like, oh man, that's kind of dope, man. This guy. And then so he says, call me. All right. So I give him a shout. How you doing, Mr. Wheeler? I'm great, Jason. Congratulations on the job. Gives me the whole spiel that he gave me in the email, and I'm like, man, that's awesome. Thank you very much. I appreciate everything that you've done for me, and I thank you very much for following me. I had no idea. No clue. Right? And so then as we get into this story here a little bit, I then go walk into Miss Debbie's office, right? You know Miss Debbie's a big NASCAR fan, right? I didn't know this. So I walk in there, I go, Miss Debbie, I talked to Humpy Wheeler. She's loses it. Because that's her guy, legitimate guy, right? And then so I'm like, oh, okay, that's great. You know? And then so that was my first opportunity to be able to really, really, really see where, make sure I get this right, my privilege intersected with my oppression. Because when I finally got there, I thought A to B was it. I worked hard, JV basketball, got a degree, did that, I got there by myself. And then as I look back at that picture and opportunity that Humpy gave me, the perspective to be able to know that intersection now, right? My privileges. I'll go back to this. I'm gonna shorten this distance here a little bit because I'm old and tired. And then so this is A to B, right? Now this is the intersection. Black male head coach, right? There's the intersection that I can't cross, right? Black, male, and then Catholic, right? So there's 3 different privileges that let me cross the intersection, right? And so if you can stay with me now all of a sudden I'm the privileged because I have those privileges to get from point A to point B. I don't have those, if I don't have these privileges, A to B gets me right to this step. I go no further. A to B gets me right here. That intersection's big, 3 steps, 1, 2, and 3. Privilege is right up there. Can't get there. Won't get there. I didn't recognize it because I thought I did it on my own. Literally, up until that email. Then I look back, I'm like, man, that intersection is huge that he just put me on. But let me give you another aspect of it. I need a cosigner to get through that privilege, right? Because for me, that black male Catholic portion of it, those steps, I don't get through without Stephen Miss co-signing me through 1, 2, and 3 to get to that top of that mountain. And then the interesting part is as I'm at the top of the mountain, the privileged have to go back to the intersection. And so what I mean by that is, Humpy Wheeler doesn't have to take time out of his day, right? The real champion of this story, the guy that's the Charlotte guy, worth however many millions of dollars, et cetera, right? Goes back down that road of privilege to point out during the intersection, hey, you were the first black male head coach at Belmont Abbey College. Wow. Shocking. But does not happen without a cosigner and an individual to be able to pull me up through that opportunity. Sorry. And so as we wrap this segment up, there's two parts of privilege I want to make sure that we all understand. That it is my job as the privileged to recognize the intersection of the oppressed. So what I mean by that, if I'm at the top of that mountain and I have those privileges, Tyler, what was your privilege? Where are you? Huh? Give me one of your privileges. Never had to help your parents financially. And you recognize that privilege. For those who don't have that privilege, it's your job now to be able to look back and go back to that intersection, to either point it out or help those that don't have that. That's how the structural advantages change. And then so if you go back to the first definition of race for us, in terms of structural differences, power. And if we want to be able to change that, and we have those privileges, look back. Go back to that intersection. Do something about it. That note for me changed my life. And what I mean by that is now the kids that are with me and have been with me for the last 7 years know that I will do anything for their success. Anything for their success. Because I want to be that privileged individual that goes back. When I first took the job, I didn't have that perspective. It took that email for me to be able to see that that intersection right there, 1, 2, and 3, is my job. It's not my job to go out there and give these kids an opportunity to win games. Yes, we want to be 27-3 next year and win a national championship, et cetera, right, Maria? But after graduation, it is my job to get them through that intersection. Whatever hopes and dreams and goals they want to have, I need to be able to put them in path to that privileged individual that has, to be able to reach back and pull them through. So you, for people with clout, you influencers, that is your job. Second part of this one, those with privilege, you're not always wrong. So what I mean by that is, like, if I don't have that privilege, it doesn't mean that I'm constantly just in the wrong portion of it. It just means I don't know. Right? I don't know what it is to be like Abbott Placid and be in his shoes. But the easy fix to that is to then be able to sit down and have a great and wonderful conversation with him about leadership and try to be able to see where he comes from. And so I can then be able to get closer to seeing his privilege and what that intersection looks like and what he goes through on a day-to-day basis.
Being the privileged individual does not mean that you are always wrong and people without are always right. It means you are missing a few very important pieces of the puzzle to understand. When you look through the lens, it shades your perspective. Listen to understand. Listen to complete the puzzle. Be interested to search for wisdom of those less fortunate.
Okay, there is power in your privilege. So, in your envelope, there should be headlines of like different things that happened in the news recently. If y'all could get those out. Okay, and I'm gonna need some people to read out these headlines, well, until we get them all read. So just one person could speak up or read one. All right, can we get one more?
Barbecue Becky. That's her name. Barbecue Becky. So this is the last little segment, and then we'll close and get out of here. So I appreciate everybody's time and patience. But I want to really work in on diagramming sentences. And so in those, I'm gonna need that here in a second. That page. And so we're gonna diagram this sentence. I'm terrible at English, but I was trying to be able to figure out how this works. And so there was a couple different lengthy internet searches that happen to have these constant themes. And then so we're gonna diagram the sentence in this way. A subject takes an action against the target engaged in some activity. So I'm gonna break this down again. A subject takes an action engaged against the target engaged in some activity. A subject takes an action against the target engaged in some activity. And so in one of these sentences, police is the subject, right? The action is called. Police were called, right? The target is the black man. The activity, he was opening his own business. One of my favorites, little articles on there, headlines. The target, the subject is the white woman. The action calls police. The target, 8-year-old black girl. The activity, because she was selling water. And so when we're talking about the power in your privilege, I want you to be able to reverse roles here and see how ridiculous it sounds. And so now, instead of white woman calls police against 8-year-old girl selling water, put that 8-year-old girl calls police for a white woman selling water. Could never happen. Wouldn't happen. Mom wouldn't allow it. Police called on black man opening own business. Switch subject and target. Black man called police for opening his business, for going to the police station. Where's that card? Oh, no. Another one. Woman calls police on black family for barbecuing in lake in Oakland. And so now black family calls police on woman for barbecuing. Sounds asinine. All right, so then now, since we're playing this little game here a little bit, let's change the action, right? And so, white woman calls police, 8-year-old black girl selling water. So let's change that action here real quick. Boop. So instead of calls police because she's tired of hearing that woman, 8-year-old girl on the side of the road selling water, guess what? She pulls out a $20 bill and buys the entire thing of water. Guess what? Done. Problem solved. Like that. We'll talk about barbecue, Becky. Where's that one? White woman calls police on black family for barbecuing at Lake Oakland. So instead of calling the police, what if she just joined them for a chicken wing or some sides? So if we change the action, all of a sudden, now the entire story, article changes. It's no longer a racial issue. Now it's all of a sudden an us situation. The activity changes things dramatically. Crazy how that happens. It's the perception, right? And what I really want to be able to get into is the activity. And then so if we go into the activity, sitting in Starbucks, sleeping in your dorm, opening your own business, selling water, barbecuing, all activities. Right? And so my first conversation that I had with everybody in general, I said the statement that I have to disarm the room when I walk into it. It's because of perceptions like this that I have to be able to disarm the room so that at the end of the day, that my perspective is not turned into a violent opportunity. Because when I walk into the room, my being is the threat. My activity, these living activities, barbecuing, sitting in Starbucks, sleeping in a dorm room, opening my business, are seen as threats to some individuals. And it's not just on an off-site occasion, it's all of the time. Walking down the street, the person grabs the purse, goes to the other side. Happens all the time. California. God love them. So the activity itself of me being in a room, hey, I have to disarm it because that is the society that we live in. That is the world as it is today. My activity is seen as a threat. And then so as we go into that one as well, when the police are called, now all of a sudden, the difference of that shield, for some individuals, that shield is seen as protection. That white woman, that golf club, that golf course, the woman at the barbecue, it's seen as their shield, their protection, their militarized force, so that they can live day to day, every single day in comfort and happiness. For me, it's seen as a completely different scenario. That I have to be perfect in that situation for me to be able to live. And so let me break that down for you. And then so when those police cars' lights go off behind me, I have to pull over in the brightest of situations. I have to have my ID card out on the front dash, my insurance out on the front dash, my arms at 10 and 2. The reason why, so at the end of the day, if they take my life, it can be filmed. And I will be lucky to be able to walk from that situation alive. Because my perspective as a black male is threatening to society. And so when you walk into that path of activities in that article, you see the impact that it has. And don't get me wrong, crime is a real thing. And there are instances where people need to be arrested and stuff does happen and call the cops and all that good stuff. I'm not saying don't call the police. But what I'm saying is at some point in time, that perspective of needs to change. So in closing, I want to go back to that dollar bill real quick. And so on the pyramid portion of that, the dollar bill. There's a quote that says, I'm gonna butcher this, so you Latin individuals, I apologize. I should have brother or Abbott Placid read this. Annuit septus? Rough enough, good enough. Thank you for your gift. Right? It's translated by the US Department, the US Mint, and the US Treasury as He/God has favored our undertakings. And when I was really kind of going into this one, I'll read that again. He/God has favored our undertakings. That was really impactful for me at this situation to be able to have the difference on both. This great country made the pyramid incomplete. And so as you see on that pyramid portion, it's incomplete now. To signify our undertakings. That at the end of the day, we are always searching to be better. Many years ago, they knew from here to 2020 that our undertakings have to consistently search for better. Our undertaking is the pursuit of completion. Our undertaking is the ability to check our privilege at the workplace, in board meetings, in policies we create, in classrooms we lead, and be aware of the systems in place to keep you at the table and to make change. I want you to be able to put that dollar bill somewhere like where you make decisions. Because on one end of that dollar bill, you have your privileges. And on the other side of it, you have the undertaking. Walking back down those steps, that's the undertaking, to be able to meet that person at the intersection. And so in your day-to-day lives and situations that you have to be able to make decisions every single day. And for those of you who are not quite there yet, but will be there shortly, it is your job. Your privileges have been given to you by God. But it's the undertaking to be able to walk back down to the intersection to be able to pull that individual's plural up to that point of privilege. Mine will be on my desk for a constant reminder that that I am privileged. God put me on this earth in this situation for a reason. But it is my job to be able to reach back for those that have not been there before and can't get past that intersection. Because if we consistently do that, A to B changes. The world where that individual gets shot 7 times in the back and the other individual gets an opportunity to walk past 5 cop cars changes. The individual an opportunity for me to be able to sit at a barbecue in peace with Becky changes. The opportunity for that 8-year-old to be able to sell water on the side of the street and that white woman that comes along, her chance to be able to go and just buy out the entire thing changes. Because we meet at the intersection. And that undertaking that we have is already previously blessed if we take the steps necessary. So I implore you, ladies and gentlemen, be brave, be courageous, march at the beat of your own drum, and take action. Be the Humpy Wheeler in somebody's story. Be the person that takes the initiative to walk down those steps, make that phone call, write that letter, bring somebody up. In that card, you have an opportunity to go and vote. Take action. Kids amongst this college, be a part of change. Be initiated. I applaud every one of you for being able to show up here today. It takes awareness and action to create change. Thank you very much for showing up today. I appreciate you.